33 days, 33 episodes. Join me, Max Rushton, and our expert team of soccer journalists every day of the World Cup for analysis, drama, and everything in between. World Cup Daily, listen on Spotify now, or watch full episodes on YouTube.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
Youth sports families and fans, huddle up. Wherever life takes you, Game Changer keeps you connected. Stream games live in full HD when you can't be there. Get play-by-play updates right on your phone. And share game highlights with everyone. Full bragging rights included. Live the game like never before with Game Changer. Create your free account today at gc.com.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to take this time to promote our brand new book, Champions for a Cause Volume 1, if you can see it right here on your screen. It is now available at Amazon.com for $15 as a paperback. It's a collection of interviews with some of your favorite wrestling personalities. I'm talking about Mark Marrow, Buff Bagwell, Jake the Snake Roberts, Tito Santana, and many more, all available for $15. So go check it out. Get your copy now. Right with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is an AEW and Ring of Honor star. The one and only Preston Vance has joined the show. Welcome, Preston, to Wrestling with Heart.
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So you're from a town in Michigan called Clare.
Yep.
Talk to me about your childhood and upbringing.
So I'm from so Clare's a very, very small town, right in the middle of the state. Mostly just farmlands. I think the population is 3,000. I grew up on a dirt road. My neighbors were Amish. My graduating class was like 94. So it's a town where a lot of people, they really don't do anything out of the ordinary. I loved growing up there. I knew at a very young age I wanted more in life than that small town. So when I decided to do this wrestling thing, it was kind of like the talk of the town, and everybody was very supportive. It's like the small towns you see in movies and stuff. Honestly, like I said, loved growing up there. I go back and visit a lot because my family's still there and I see my nephews and stuff, but I don't think I would ever move back.
Do they have any local wrestling promotions where you grew up?
Oh, hell no. No. I mean, the closest one would probably be obviously there was some in Detroit, but was 2 hours from where I grew up. So the scene out there was very, very, very limited.
So it's very like small country kind of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, were you always a wrestling fan since childhood?
Yep. So I really fell in love with it when I was probably 7 or 8. My babysitter's son loved wrestling. We used to play had to have been No Mercy or something on Nintendo. And my favorite wrestler was Billy Gunn. And DX and all those guys, right? But Billy Gunn specifically, I'd always choose him as my guy. And after that, I fell in love with it. When I was 8 years old, I wrote an essay, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I put a pro wrestler on TV. And I bet I probably am the only kid in that class who actually is doing what they wrote, because everyone else is like football player, hockey player, baseball player, you know. So yeah, I've been. I mean, that was my whole life growing up. I just fell in love with it pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like once you like fall in love with something and you're passionate about something, this is what you want to do for a
It's
living.
like magnetizing, man. It really like it pulls you in, and you view like different stuff in the world, like you view it like as wrestling now. You know, it's I don't know. I'm glad I found like my passion at such a young age, because some people unfortunately never find it.
No, no, no. And the cool thing is when you got into wrestling, you grew up in a time where wrestling was definitely experiencing one of its biggest boom
Oh
periods, the
yeah,
Attitude Era. So
yeah,
you mentioned DX and Billy Gunn.
yeah,
Definitely one of the key players in that time period was Triple H. And
yep,
he was kind of like one of the leaders of the group, really kind of helped kind of take form as to what we know today. With the WWE and how it's kind of changed over the years, because he has always been like one of the constants of
sure,
the game.
yep,
No pun intended, of course.
yeah, yeah.
So at what age? So you knew this is what you wanted to do. At what age did you start looking up schools?
So I was a senior in college, because I was 8 years old, so all the kids have their dreams, but it did get to, I don't know what age, probably high school, maybe a little before. I didn't want to say let the dream die, but I also like, how do you even get into this? Like it was so like out of like the realm of like normalcy for me. So I went to college at Central Michigan University. Um, I got my degree in entrepreneurship and minor in business management. So then around like junior, senior year, I was like, one of my roommates was like, why don't you like try to like actually look into this, you know? And so I did. And, for every good wrestling school in the country, there's about 100 bad ones who are just going to take your money and not give, really teach you anything. So, I mean, I had a stack of paper of like every single school, and I have lists of like pros and cons of this. And there was really the only one in Michigan I found was Truth Martini School. But I also, in my mind, I wanted to move away from Michigan and almost like be isolated from my friends, so I knew that if I did this, like I had to do this, and it wasn't going to be like distractions and stuff like that. So I found a really good one in New Jersey called the Monster Factory. So my senior year of college, I finished my literal last exam, and the very next day, I packed my car with as much stuff as I could. I had a little black Mustang, like garbage bags full of shit, and just drove from Michigan to New Jersey. I didn't know anybody. I had no place to live. So for the first like 4 months, I mean, I was like completely homeless. But I would always go to training, and then I'd have enough money for like food and stuff. So I would buy groceries, and I was so embarrassed that I was homeless, but I was basically living in a Snap Fitness parking lot, and I would go in the gym at like 2, 3 in the morning, because it was 24 hours, nobody was there, and I'd cook all my food for the day on a little George Foreman grill in the bathroom. Um, and at that time, I'd call home and everything's fine. And I remember hanging up, talking to my mom, and just like crying, like, what am I doing? Like, I have a college degree, come from a good family, and now I'm chasing this dream, and I'm, fresh out of college, living in a parking lot. But I guess it all worked out, obviously. So now I look back and I think it's kind of funny, but in that moment, it was like it was pretty like a depressing time for me. But also, I had such a good support system back home, like with friends and all that. So it's like I never was the guy who had to. I'm gonna do this to prove everybody wrong. I was doing everything. I was doing it to like prove everybody right, because they all believed in me. So it almost made me work harder, because it's like now if I don't make it, I'm not like just letting myself down. I'm letting everybody down.
Yeah, I mean, when you're homeless, it's a hard life and a hard pill to swallow, because it's unpredictable. You don't know where your next meal is going to come from. You don't know where your next place to live is going to be like.
Yeah.
It's just it's a very, very rough thing to go through.
Yeah, but it was one of those like I mean, and maybe I'm too too, I don't know if arrogance is the right word, but I never like, it never crossed my mind like, oh, I'm not gonna make it. Like I knew I was going to, in some form or fashion.
Yeah, so training at the Monster Factory, one of the
Mhm.
top wrestling schools to train under, to study under.
Uh-huh.
You go there, you get there, and you start working on your your mobility. You start really working on your techniques and everything.
Uh-huh.
Were you ever like into sports as a kid? Did you ever
Yep.
like?
So I played hockey and baseball. Was very, very into both of them. Like loved them both. My dad he loved baseball. He was always my coach in Little League. And going back to like the childhood, I grew up. He was a hard dad, like a good dad, but like he was hard. Like if you messed up, he let you know. He was never the dad to if you say if you hit a home run, he's not gonna be like, oh, good job, you hit a home run. He'll tell you the 4 things you did wrong. But he was always my coach for everything. Never missed a game. He really, really instilled like hard work ethic in both me and my brother. Um, but but yeah, I was super into baseball. Played all the way through high school, and same with hockey. Played all the way from 7 years old all the way through senior year of high school. But I knew I wasn't going to go pro with either of those things. I was good for where I grew up. I was always one of the better ones, but I just knew I wasn't gonna go pro in it. And I knew I wanted my college degree, and then I wanted to do wrestling, and I was pretty set on that.
Did you feel like doing a lot of those sports growing up helped prepare you for learning how to wrestle?
Big time, 100%. Yeah, because it's like a lot of guys that I noticed when I first started the Monster Factory. A lot of these people who get in pro wrestling, it's entertainment. So a lot of them are kind of like theater kids, if that makes sense. I never was. I always athlete. And they both are very helpful in this industry. But if you're an athlete, like you can learn stuff, and you're coachable and you're teachable. So like when I started the Monster Factory, all the coaches took a liking to me because they would tell me to do something, and I wouldn't question them, or like they would tell me to do something, and I'd fix it the very next thing. Like if they told me to paint the fence red, I'm painting it red. I'm not going to paint it blue and then explain why I painted it blue. Like I'm very almost like good soldier mindset. Like tell me what to do, and I'm just going to do it.
And the way like you have to look at things is like you have to absorb all this knowledge because like these people are seasoned veterans. They've been around the block for so many years. They know what to expect. They know what's going on, and they're trying to pass on that knowledge and wisdom to you. And so it's up to you now to take that knowledge and those fundamentals and apply them.
Yep. And too, it's like you can grow up like I was a massive wrestling fan, but when you actually get into the industry and you see how it really works, it's like it's very intimidating. It's like I tell everyone it's literally like speaking a different language. And I was very fortunate to have awesome trainers. At that time, Danny Cage was the owner, but I had Damian Priest was my coach, QT Marshall, and Blue Meanie. So it's like those are three pretty good people, and they all took a liking to me right away. I had the advantage of when I started wrestling, I was already like I've been in shape my whole life. So that helped a lot, where people were like, well, I'm going to help you. Damian Priest QT was kind of the one who really convinced me to like keep going and stick it out. We always joke he's like my wrestling dad. He's done more for me in wrestling and life than honestly pretty much anybody I've ever met. And then Damian, but when I started, QT just had neck surgery, so he was gone. So then Damian Priest was the trainer. He's a pretty intimidating guy. And he didn't really like hang out with like the students and stuff, and he just coached and did his own thing. But me and him, we clicked pretty much right off the bat and became really good friends. And I'll never forget the one time he told me, because he's older than me by a bit, and he told me, he's like, I'll never make it. My time has passed, but I just want you to make it, so I have a little piece of me in your story. And now look at him, he blew up. So I had a really good support system with like the coaches and stuff there, and like very fortunate to get trained the right way right off the bat.
What kinds of pieces of advice that you took away from your training that you've applied to today, you're still kind of doing?
I forget who said this, but it might have been QT, but it's like at this point, AEW didn't exist, so it's like the only place to really go was WWE, and at the Performance Center there'd be they would say there's, multiple rings, and each ring is a different coach. And, every coach, like to do certain moves and stuff, they have their own way of doing them. So maybe coach coach X isn't going to have the same view as coach Y. So if coach X tells you to do something in his ring, do it the way he wants. And then when coach Y tells you to do the same thing, but he wants to see you do it the way he wants, just do it his way. Don't say, oh, well, so-and-so told me to do it this way. So that goes back to that, like, good soldier, even with AEW, like, Tony Khan could tell me to do anything, like character wise, story, whatever, and I'll just do it. It's the best of my ability. Even when I got signed and I was 10 and wore a mask, I never wore a mask before on the Indies, and I was pretty skeptical about that. I told QT when I got signed, I was like, damn, I don't even know how to wrestle in a mask. But I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm just going to do it and do it to the best of my abilities. And that's probably like, I mean, in my mind, that's what I think I'll always be remembered for the most is 10 in Dark Order, So it's like, was kind of like a blessing in disguise. I don't know. I'm very, very good soldier mentality, which I got that from growing up with my dad and stuff. So I think that helped me a lot in this industry, because there's a lot of people who aren't like that, and they have super, super short shelf lives.
Everybody has a different style of learning. Everybody has a different style of teaching. So it's something you just kind of have to keep in the back of your mind. So
yeah.
It's like if you are with a coach and you're used to doing this, another person may do it differently. So you just have to learn how to adapt.
Yep. 100%. Adapt is that's a great word to describe pro wrestling is adapt. It's a great way to describe it.
Well, you start wrestling, put a few matches together, and did you ever like get a sense of nervousness or shyness? Or did you feel like, okay, I got it?
I mean, right off the bat, going out there, I remember my first match. At this point, I was so new. I didn't even have gear yet, nothing. And they just kind of threw me out there. And I was nervous as hell. But then there is moments where, like, you do have that aha moment. Like, oh, this is starting to click. And then you feel comfortable. And mine was, I got mine pretty early on. I remember I was still at the Monster Factory, but it was like my first, like, I think it was like a 23-minute match, which was my first like long match ever. And I was so nervous. But then after that match, I was like, oh my God, I get it. Like, I finally get it, and then like, even now, like before we go out there and I'm with like, my group now, Frat House, like, I'm always joking before we go out. And Cole Carter, he's always like, do you ever get nervous? I said, honestly, I don't really get nervous anymore. It's just like, because it's fun. And that's something that I learned from Billy Gunn, is he's like, if you're not having fun doing this, then stop doing it. This is supposed to be fun. Like it's such a unique and cool career. Like, you have to have fun with it. So I don't know. Like, do I get nervous still? Yes, but not like new nervous. Like, I don't know. It's a different type of nerves, but like I've for the past, years now, it's just like, I just have so much fun with it.
Yeah, you really have to be invested in anything you do and be devoted and dedicated to it. You don't want to mail it. You don't want to mail it in. You want to be able to put your heart and soul into something. Really go above and beyond. As much as possible. At what point did Tony Khan reach out to you about joining AEW?
I had one match with Darby Allin, a dark match, and then this was during COVID. I remember I was in Michigan visiting my family, and QT called me and said, "Hey, can you make it to Jacksonville tomorrow and do a dark match?" And COVID had just started, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" I'm like, "Okay." So then I get on a plane. I'm the only person on the plane. Go to Jacksonville. I wrestle Darby in like a, obviously Darby wins. I wasn't signed, but Darby's another, like, he's so talented. He's so fun to work. And it was basically like 70-30, like 70 me, 30 him. He would basically like go in there, show me what you can do, beat the shit out of him, and then he'll roll you up, whatever. So I do that match, felt great, went good, and then went to the back, and I was like, oh, good job. And then the next week we did all the tapings at QT school in Atlanta, which I was living at the time. So then they had me go in there the night before, and they were setting it up, and I was just hanging out and talking to people. And that's when Brodie Lee came in, and Brodie had saw the match, and he asked QT and Cody, like, hey, does this guy have a deal with WWE coming up? Like, what's his deal? And QT's like, no, he doesn't. And that's when Brodie was like, I want him with me. So then he, went to Tony and was like, I want him in Dark Order. I'll take him under my wing. Like,
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
On screen, off screen, whatever. And me and Brodie talked for probably 2-3 hours that night, and just about life, not even about wrestling, and like really like bonded and connected. And then the next, I think it was the very next day, I got offered a contract.
It's amazing. And you were with Dark Order for quite a while. Brodie Lee's passing it shattered so many people's hearts in the wrestling community. Nothing but great things have been said about him and his work, and his work in the locker room, backstage, talking to people, mentoring them, guiding them along in their careers. That had to have been such a huge loss for the company.
Oh yeah, huge loss for the company and the wrestling world, in general. And like you said, he was one of those people, and wrestling is such a crazy like place where like you really like, I haven't heard one thing bad said about him at all. I mean, all positive across the board. It was, and I do, like, I selfishly always think, even for my own career, like, man, like, I wonder where I would be if he was still here, because he like really believed in me when he didn't have to. He was the real final like driving force to get me a job. And like a lot of people, I've been reading stuff online, like people thought that I was like his nephew or cousin, and it's like I didn't know him at all. We just clicked really, right off the bat. And then obviously me and little Brodie, he basically became like the little brother I never had. It was just such a weird time, because I remember the last time I spoke to him, we were in the parking lot in Jacksonville, and we'd always show up at the same time. I'd always wait for him. We'd walk in together, and then he's like, "Hey, go ahead without me. I think I have COVID." And I was like, "Okay." And then I never saw him again.
Wow. Yeah,
and he was such a good mentor, because shortly after I got signed, I mean, I'm talking like 3 days after I tore my bicep and needed surgery, and I was so like embarrassed and nervous. I remember calling Cody and QT and Brodie, and like in tears, like, oh my God, like this dude just put his whole stamp of approval on me without knowing me, and I already messed it up. And then I remember seeing him that week, and I'm like, my arms all like mangled, and he like, I'll never forget, he laughed and he gave me a hug, and he said, "You're young, you're good looking, you'll be fine." And he walked away. And then he gave me one of his jacks that he would walk out, and then he said, "Here, take my jacket to cover up your bad wing. I still want you on stage with me like every week." And I was like, damn. So I was like, he was a great mentor, and just like a hilarious person too.
Any fun stories backstage of just you guys cutting up that you want to share?
I mean, my favorite moments with him, as far as the funny stuff, is when we would film all the BTE segments, like me and the rest of Dark Order and Hangman and all that. And we would be trying to film something, and he would just be in the corner, like off camera, laughing, and it would make all of us laugh. And he had this big, like, boisterous laugh and smile. Like, I know it's so cliche, we're like, oh, his smile and laugh can light up a room. Like, his truly could, and he would always be trying to get us to crack on screen. And it was just like, filming BTE with him was so cool, because you got to see him as like, because I knew him from WWE and Wyatt family, like this big, scary, like, so I didn't know he was going to be like that. And he was just one of the funniest people, and like could get along with anybody. So I would say filming the BTE with him was honestly probably like some of my like favorite moments in my wrestling career.
It's amazing. And he also got to work with Rush.
Oh yeah.
What was that like?
Awesome. So when that happened, that was kind of another situation. At this point, I was in Dark Order for at least 3 years now, I'd say. So it's like, okay, let's do a change of pace. And I remember Tony would always ask me, like, do you want to keep the mask on, whatever? And I told Tony, I said, if you want me to keep the mask on forever, I will. If you want me to take it off tomorrow, I will. You're the boss. Tell me what to do. Um, and then this is when Andrade, I think it was just Andrade and Rouge, and Andrade saw me passing like just in the hallways. I didn't know Andrade at all. And I guess he saw me. He goes, I want him. Went to Tony. He's like, I want Preston in my groups. And then that's when we kind of formed the whole thing. And then Andrade was gone for a little bit. So then it was just Rouge there, but we still wanted to push that storyline. And I didn't know Rouge at all. But we did it. And Rouge, another one, man, we clicked immediately. And it was such a good, like, I take like from each piece, like the Dark Order, I learned, how to wrestle in a mask. So you got to use everything but your face to, like, show something, which was really challenging, and then now I'm in this group with Rouge and his brother Dralisico, where English isn't their first language. So now I got to learn how to wrestle and, like, really, really rely on the wrestling lingo, opposed to, like, hey, if shit goes a little haywire, like, I don't understand Spanish, you guys don't get English that well, so it's like, but it was like such a good learning experience. And he's so intense, so he would bring that out in me. Like, my favorite matches, honestly, my favorite match is the Texas Tornado match, me and him versus Mox and Claudio. Like, that's my kind of wrestling. And so he would really bring that out in me. And then we went to Mexico City and filmed vignettes for like 11 days or something like that. And it was just like, I still talk to Rouge all the time. And, he's like, he always called me his honorary big Mexican brother. And yeah, I love that guy. Working with him was awesome. And it's just like, you learned a lot,
So far in your career, who would you say have been some of your favorite opponents that you've gotten to step in the ring with over the years?
Moxley, I think, is for sure my number one. For multiple reasons. He was my first match on AEW TV, like on Dynamite. And then he did the whole storyline where he, broke my arm with a chair and stuff. And then we did, like, I think it was the world title eliminator thing, where he's the first person who I bled against, and he ripped my mask open, and it was such a short match, but it was so, like, violent and, like, cool. And then the Texas Tornado match, Moxie's for sure my favorite. I say Darby is a pretty close second, just because he's very, like, giving and willing to take whatever, and, like, he makes you look really good. Another one I would say, honestly, Orange Cassidy. He's another one who he really makes, like, his opponent look good. Yeah, for sure. I would say those are probably top three.
You being in AEW now for a little bit, the last few years, what would you say are some of the goals that you haven't been able to accomplish yet that you would like to accomplish?
As far as specific goals, I don't know. I just always want to do more and more and more. I honestly would love to. One of two things. I would love eventually a Dark Order reunion, just because I'll always view Dark Order as kind of AEW's home team, I guess, because it was a true, like, AEW creation. And like, after Brodie had passed, we really were, like, the true underdogs of that company. I would love to, honestly, to reform something with Rouge, and I feel like the LFI thing, I feel like we didn't get to really do it to its full potential, because, like, those vignettes we made in Mexico were so, like, cinematic and cool, and, like, made you feel something. And I feel like me and Rouge had such good chemistry and, like, the same kind of style. So I would love to revisit that for sure. But honestly, to just do more, whatever I can do to, fill my piece and make AEW, what it is. I would say, as far as, like, belts and stuff, I'll always be synonymous with the TNT because, Brodie had it when he passed. So I would say that. But yeah, I really would love to do the Dark Order reunion at some point, and I would love to revisit stuff with Rouge.
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. Outside of wrestling, I know you're very involved with charity work and have done stuff to help out in your community. What kinds of causes are you very passionate about?
I'm actually the only wrestler who lives in Jacksonville, where that's kind of, I guess you could say, our headquarters. So any sort of thing around here that they want me to go to, I'll go to. Like I did something for the troops one time. I'm doing something in June called Dream Day, where you go to the like children's hospitals. So it's like they'll have like people like princesses and superheroes, and I'll be there, and like a lot of the Jaguars football players and stuff. But I'm very passionate about that. Um, like children's health, because growing up I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 10, so I was in hospitals a lot as like a child. They were always trying to figure out what was wrong with me. um, and I would see these kids even at a young age, like 9, 10, with these terminal illnesses, and it would like even at that age, like as a kid, it would like break my heart. And I was like, man, I hate seeing kids like this, and then their families are going through it. So anything that has to do with that, I'm like very, very passionate about, because I remember being in the hospital, and I would literally like Google like pro athletes, pro wrestlers, um, who have Crohn's, because like, can I do this, and I'd find a list of them. And so it was like, it's almost another reason I wanted to make it, so it's like I could be that inspiration for some kid who's going through the same thing I went through as a kid. So like the anything with children's health is like, as far as charity wise, that's for sure what I am the most passionate about, because I was around it quite a bit as a child. And like I said, even at that age, I knew, like, it also taught me too, like, no matter how bad you think you have it, someone has it a lot worse.
Yeah.
So, and then another thing too, with the whole rebel thing, the ALS diagnosis recently, which is heartbreaking. So that is something now, because she's one of my friends. So like something that you kind of you don't think about that kind of stuff till it affects someone. You know what I mean? So yeah, anything like that is like I'm super super passionate about. Anything with like dogs, like humane societies. I rescued a pit bull last year. I can hear her right now going crazy in my bed. But so anything like that. Yeah, but I would say my two heartstrings are definitely dogs and children, man. When like abused dogs or like sick kids, like that shit really really breaks my heart.
Yeah. And having such a very life-threatening illness,
Hmm.
or going through something that's just as painful as Crohn's disease,
Mhm.
having that, making it out on the other side definitely is an inspiring message. So you're trying to pass that on to somebody else that may be going through the same thing.
Yeah,
So
or even something similar. Like I just remember as a kid, I was always at the University of Michigan Hospital trying to figure out what's going on with me. I have all these scans, and I was 10 years old, so I don't know what's going on. I remember my mom would be so distraught, and it's like, I don't know. It was like you want to be like that inspiration for someone who's going through something similar. You know what I mean?
yeah. Was there a particular event that you were a part of that was very heartwarming and something memorable and emotional for you that you're able to recall?
Um, Honestly, I get a lot of because I'm very open about having Crohn's and stuff, and I get a lot of emails from people, because my email's public, um, about how like my story inspired them, and they're going through this, and inspired them to, like, you can still go to the gym and like be the best version you can be, and all this. And it's like, I mean, and there'll be these very lengthy like letters, and it's like, well, that's awesome. And then um I think the most heartwarming thing, like, is I was going back to the Brodie thing, where little Brodie just took such a. I was like I was like his rock for a while. Like when his dad, because on screen he would see me as kind of his dad's right hand man, and at that point Brodie was only 8, so in his mind he's like, this is kind of real. So I remember seeing him backstage, and I see him and Amanda, and I say hello, and I'm just dressed in normal clothes. They hi, whatever. Then when I put on the whole thing, and then I remember Brodie saw me down the hallway, and he nudges his mom. He goes, "That's 10." Then he comes over and he's talking to me, and like, I love kids. I don't have any, but I have 2 nephews. But I feel like that was such a tough time for him, and him always being around me. I'm very good at kind of being a goofball, so he could like just kind of forget about the bad stuff going on in his life, and he could just finally be a kid again. And it was like wherever he would go backstage, he needed me right by his side. And he would call me, like FaceTime me, like, I mean, like 10 times a day. And then as time went on, I would hear from him less and less and less and less, because it's like he's healing, you know, which is like, that's a good sign where he like didn't need constant, like, to get his mind off of it. But the fact that he like kind of saw me as like his person in that moment without knowing me, I would like, I'm like very, very like fortunate and grateful that like I was able to help him in such a hard time. That, I mean, I have no experience of what that kid went through. Like, you know, my dad's still alive. He lost his dad at 8 years old. You know, like that's pretty crazy. But I'm glad that I could do everything that I could to like kind of help him get through that rough patch in his life.
Yeah, it's such a motivational story to be able to kind of get back up when you're down and out, and something that is just powerful as a disease is taking over your life, and you want to be able to overcome it and defeat it. What is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Because like I said, I'm so fortunate in my life with a lot of things, and I know a lot of people aren't like that. So if you can, even any little small thing, man, just it doesn't have to be like a monetary thing or like a physical thing. Like, you know, I walk my dog, and like there's this homeless lady that, you know, down that she's always in the same spot every night, and I'll always stop and talk to her, and she'll pet my dog and stuff, and I can just tell like that like brightens up her day, you know. So it's just like little things like that. Like it's not hard to just be a good person. It really isn't. I tell everybody, like I get asked all the time by like people who are just getting into wrestling, oh, do you have any advice? And I say two things. I say, be in the best shape you can and just be a good person, and that'll get you way farther than anything.
Exactly. Well said. I mean, it really doesn't take much to brighten somebody's day, except just put a nice smile on and give a positive affirmation, a positive greeting, and it just turns their whole day around.
Yep.
Well, Preston, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to Wrestling with Heart. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media? And if there's anything you want to plug, feel free.
Social media, Instagram is Preston Vance, PRES10VANCE, and Twitter is the same. Keep supporting and watching AEW and Ring of Honor. QT Marshall has a promotion in Atlanta called One Fall Wrestling, which is kind of taken off, and he's got like a little TV deal up there, and that's now on the new My AEW app as well. So you can watch AEW, Ring of Honor, the One Fall Wrestling. It's a pretty cool app where it's kind of like everything right there. And I do pretty much all of his shows up there. So I would say keep an eye out on that indie promotion, because it's definitely one of the best ones that I've seen in the past 11 years of doing this. So
all right, we'll definitely check it out. Thanks again, Preston, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And don't forget, get your copy now of Champions for a Cause Volume 1, if you can see that here. It's a collection of interviews with some of your favorite wrestling personalities like Mark Marrow, Jake the Snake Roberts, Tito Santana, and Buff Bagwell, so many others. Get your copy now on Amazon.com for $15, available in paperback. I'm Stanley Carr, and we'll see you next time.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.